very pleasant good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome once again to In the Streets with Big Stone. Today is a very historical day because today is when we go live officially, where the rest of the world can communicate with Big Stone and my guest, of course, and we can have a one-on-one on how better to uplift and motivate our country, Jamaica. Today, the topic is about embalming fluid or formaldehyde. But before I introduce my guest to the world, I just want to give you a little background on formaldehyde or embalming fluid. Formaldehyde is a chemical used to preserve the dead. It's becoming an increasingly popular drug for users looking for a new and different high, one which often comes with violent or psychotic side effects, official says. The chemical is embalming fluid, and users, mainly teens and teeny boppers, or youths in their 20-somethings, are buying tobacco or marijuana cigarettes that have been soaked in it, then dried. The cost in the United States is about $20 US. I don't know what the cost is in Jamaica, but it is called by nearly a dozen names nationwide, including wet, fry, and illy. So ladies and gentlemen, there we have it. We are on live, and today my very special guest on the subject is a very learned brother, a brother that I call my personal teacher and Jeddah. He's president of the Marcus Garvey People's Political Party. That's one act. He's also president of the UNIA St. Andrew chapter. That's another act. And he wears several acts of acts of acts. So help me welcome now Eru Ishaka Musa Menelik.
Many thanks, my brother. I'm glad to be here. This is a great forum that we can really speak with our people.
Our people.
Blessed.
Now, Eru, it has just been reported in recent times, since the latter part of last year, this started to come to the fore, that our youngsters, especially the gangsters in Montego Bay, are using this deadly chemical. And because this chemical makes them fearless, psychotic, and dangerous. A matter of fact, one person that I was speaking with, who's familiar with the drug, told me that he could give a youngster a loaded gun, and if his mother, father, brother, or sister is in a yard, he could send this youngster with this gun after using the soaked marijuana cigarette. And then this youth could go into this yard and just open fire, killing everybody without any remorse at all. What is happening? What is this new trend that is happening to our youngsters?
Well, it's very unfortunate and very frightening to see this happening to Jamaica, a land that was credited with a lot of consciousness, fighting for the liberation of people, uplifting black people. The Honorable Marcus Garvey is the man who cried out for 400 million black people to uplift themselves. So to find ourselves in this position now, it's very unfortunate. But when we look at the throwback, we copy a lot of things from America.
Yes.
And because a lot of our youngsters have gone to America and have lived there for a time, they have adapted some of these very dangerous practices. Though, you know, in America, they have speed, they have PCP, you name it, angel dust.
Right.
So all these are mind-altering drugs. What happens is that you get detached from reality while you're under the influence of these things. And this is why a youngster could kill his mother, brother, sister, any one of his family, because he's totally detached from reality while he's under that psychotic influence of these drugs. And we have to really understand that this is done intentional. We can remember when we did our homework, we found out that in America, a lot of black communities, there would be a parked van there, and you know these vans will get burgled if it is there and no one sees anybody going into it.
Yes.
But inside that van, it is filled with drugs. Sometimes it was marijuana, sometimes it was cocaine, sometimes it was angel dust, PCP, you name it. It was done to break down the black community, to explode the black family, let the family get disunited, and eventually turn on themselves and create hysteria and destruction. And this is intentionally done because they, the white supremacists, know black people is the ultimate being, the first being to emerge. Yeah. And if we get our act together, we shall retain our rightful place as the rightful rulers of earth. Because when we were ruling earth, it was more uplifting. We talked about knowledge, science. We conquered the stars. Yes. The Doguns could tell you about the calendar, the stellar calendar, using the stars to map the heavens and tell you when you have 365 days, one full rotation of Earth. You are the lunar calendar mapping the movement of the moon.
Yes.
And then we come to the final one that we are still using, the solar calendar, using the movement of the sun around Earth. And you realize that you find 365 and a quarter days you have a year. This is how great we are as a people. But they want to break us down to the lowest principle, and to that they want to take away your humanity. And what better way than use mind-altering drugs that you don't know your greatness anymore?
We have looked on the crime rate that has been plaguing our country for the last 5 years. Let's go back. We could go further back, but let's go back 5 years. And for the last 5 years, every year, we have passed over 1,000 people being killed. Do you think this drug was introduced for genocide? To take away that youthful, kingly character of our youngsters and turn them into animals against themselves so that they can self-destruct?
A house divided must fall. And we are seeing it. When a family is disunited, you find that there's no integration, there's no cohesiveness, so there's no upliftment of the family. So the family, so the community, so the community, so the nation. And this is what we find happening. But the other side of it, you want to look at these people want slaves. In 1834, when slavery was abolished, and you found that independence came after, and we should have been doing our own thing. No, they want your services still, because in the Bible that they created, they concocted that black people are the hewers of wood and the carriers of water. So we are their slaves. And for it to continue, they must do things to put you in that mindset and to create conditions for a continuance of that type of slavery. So what better way that they have concocted? To use drugs, mind-altering drugs that will get to you, the individual, and eventually you have very low self-esteem when you are under these influences of drugs. You carry yourself dirty, not upright. So these are things that they do. And the bottom side of that now is that you are housed in small communities, cramped communities, and as the psychologists tell you, anywhere people are tightly bunched together, they turn on themselves.
In recent time, when I speak to you as my judge on the plight of our people, and we talk about, say, land, we're still on the topic of formaldehyde. We just want to show the entire world how we are structured in this country, and that is the reason, one of the main reasons why we are self-destructing. You told me that the land mass that they used to house over 400 people. Some of the well-to-do people, is just their wife and 2 children occupy this same space, so that somebody's front door is somebody's backyard, and that creates conflict from time to time. Explain that to the world, because they really don't understand why our people are behaving in such a way. A lot of people are lost for words. We know formaldehyde is a reason, and we know there are other reasons. Explain to them the squatting and what create problems in our community?
Well, for this, we have to take a trip in history.
Yeah.
Now, you found that when the Spaniards came to Jamaica in 1492,
Yes.
they saw people. People were here. They saw the Indians. But also, they found gold. And when they took the gold back to Spain and thought that the gold actually came from Jamaica, when they did a metallurgical study, and you know, gold have a DNA just like how blood have a DNA. You can tell where this gold came from. When they did the metallurgical test on the gold, they found that it was consistent with gold from Africa.
Wow.
So the Africans were here trading with the Indians many years, hundreds of years before the Spaniards came here in 1492. Now you realize that the Spaniards actually gave these black people a name, Cimarron, meaning wild people.
Wow.
Because these people resisted how the Spaniards came upon them. They were an alien people. So they called them the Cimarron, meaning wild people. Now, after the English came and beat the Spaniards in my dates are getting off. But the Spaniards were defeated by the English, I think 1655. 1655. And when the British took over Jamaica, they ran that up until 1835, 200 and odd years, and had our enslaved mothers and fathers working for them. It came to the point, 1834, when manumission took place.
Yes.
After manumission, it went up to 1838, full freedom, emancipation. Now, during emancipation, the slave owners got money, 20 million pounds, to facilitate the loss of the use of their slaves. Now, the slaves were never compensated. So the English had all the land and the Africans had none. So the Africans had to basically live on the hillside, in the gully side, and wherever they could find. And this was the earliest form of squatting. By 1865, when the Moran Bay Rebellion took place, you had some amount of reformation taking place where certain amount of land was actually allowed by the black people to be owned. This land gave them certain voting rights later on in the 20th century. But the majority of our people were squatters. They owned no land. This took place in the context that when you had the slave owner on his land, he had one piece of land, himself, his wife, and maybe 3 children, 5 of them, on a 50-acre land. But on a 1-acre squatting plot, you had 200 Africans.
Wow.
And this is what came forward to us in this present time, that today we find 753 squatter settlements in Jamaica. 753.
Wow.
And these are statistics by the Ministry of Housing. Out of the 753, you'll find 1.2 to 1.4 million Jamaicans living in a squatting settlement mentality. That is almost half of your population are squatters. Now, these politicians who should have made life better for the people have not done so. They have taken on the persona of the old slave masters, and they now are occupying the great houses, the 10 and 20 and 50-acre plots of land for them and their children. And children meaning maybe 2 or 3. So 5 of them is occupying 10 acres, while 10,000 people are living on 1 acre.
Problem.
You must create problems. And the psychologists and the psychiatrists and all these people that deal with the mind, matters of the mind, tell you, whenever you find people crammed together like that, you're bound to find people turn. And they did experiments with animals to show you. When you cramp a lot of animals together in a little pen,
yeah,
you find they turn on each other and fight. So it's the same thing happening with us.
So you see, ladies and gentlemen, the mindset of our people is set up, is so structured, as my brother Heru said, it is structured in such a way to create conflict. Now we see what is happening in Jamaica. Last year we saw 1,618 people murdered. This year we're almost up to 200 already. What are some of, and another thing also I must bring to your attention, is the fact that the government changed the name of the state of emergency that they have on the people in St. James to security enhancement, as to protect their brand tourism. What are your thoughts there in them altering the name just to cater to the wider world, when the truth is St. James is under the state of emergency?
Well, this just shows the mindset of deception. Instead of calling it what it really is, you're going to now try to deceive the people as if the people are imbeciles to not know it is a state of emergency. It has been declared. There's an embassy here, the United States Embassy, the British High Commission, and many others. So they follow the news and they know that it is a state of emergency. So now, in trying to deceive the people, you are coming out now because the US put out an advisory to their people. Be careful of Jamaica. Don't go to certain places. They are trying to now protect the tourism dollar by deception. And this shows you the mindset that they always deceive the people in anything they do. This is just one example.
The other day I was watching the news and it really bothers me, and I have to mention this so that the people can understand what is happening here in Jamaica. 2 days after they announced the state of emergency in St. James, a camera news reporter and interviewer was in Sam Sharp Square. And while they were in Sam Sharp Square and the camera panned in the entire Sam Sharp Square, we noticed the square was filled and crammed with white people, foreigners, moving around enjoying themselves. When the interviewer went up to these white folks and asked them, how do you feel about the state of emergency? Do you feel safe about Jamaica? All of them said they feel safe and they were moving around and so on. But when the camera panned, I noticed there was not even one black person at 1 o'clock in the day in the square of Sam Sharp. So then, it is the poorer class of people or the citizen of this country that is suffering through this state of emergency. Now, I am for this state of emergency in terms of clamping down on what is happening in Montego Bay. It should have happened a long time. But when you put the people, the citizen, in a position where they cannot hustle anymore because there's certain lack of time and they cannot hustle anymore, they cannot earn their bread anymore, what are you saying? Are we not creating more crime later on because people have to eat?
Well, you know, anything that is ill-conceived, there's a popular saying.
Yeah.
Oh, what a tangled web you weave when at first you try to deceive.
Yeah.
Now, these politicians have mastered the art of deception.
Yeah.
And they have deceived the people into believing that the PNP will do better when they are in power, or the JLP will do better when they are in power, when both of them are the same. We have actually looked at the ideology of both parties. Both parties are under the oligarchical system. in which they protect the rich and don't press the poor. And if we follow from 1944 how the elections have been won by both parties, they share the time almost equally. And what you find is that poor communities get poorer and rich communities get richer. And you just have to travel around Kingston to see it. When the IMF came to Jamaica in 1977, they said Jamaica is a rich country, the amount of Benz and BMWs that they saw. They saw that Jamaica was affluent. But what happened? 5% of the people in Jamaica control 99% of the wealth.
What?
It's an unequal distribution.
Hold on
of
one
wealth.
second, Ero. Hold on to that point. I just want to big up Obadiah Daniels for tuning in. I want to big up Anna K. Spence. I want to big up Davian Gowie. I want to big up Marine Welters. I want to big up Ras Billy. I want to big up Kiku, the Hype One, for stopping by and listening this. But I want my Jegna to repeat. What are you saying? A population of 2.88 million people. Only 5% control the mass of the wealth of the people.
99%. And these are statistics that came out in the Gleaner. But they put these things. This was put out by the Bank of Jamaica and the Planning Institute.
Yes.
But the deception of these people, when they put it in this fine print in a little back page, a lot of people will not notice it. But I had to get my scissors and cut it out, and I have it in my scrapbook. And listen, the title of that article said, "Wealth firmly in the big man's hand." And anyone can Google it, go to the Gleaner's website, Google it, and you can read it. The wealth is firmly in the hands of the big man. But further to that, the United Nations put out a communique some months ago showing Jamaica has the widest disparity of income earners in the Western Hemisphere.
When you say disparity, I know my audience understand, but I just want you to break it down in layman terms so every single one can understand. Ras Billy, big up yourself. The widest disparity mean what?
All right, you'll find in one company, one of the chief executive officers, the CEO of this company, will earn $4 million per week. And in the same company, you have workers taking home $5,000 per week, less than the minimum wage. And it is happening in Jamaica. And we go further than that. Under the Constitution, you are granted your right to join a union to protect your rights as a citizen. The security guards have never been able to join a union, and they work for more than 40 hours per week. The Industrial Dispute Tribunal Act tells you that you're supposed to work for 40 hours. And this goes back from Marcus Garvey, when Marcus Garvey had the People's Political Party. He advocated for a 40-hour work week. Because remember, our grandparents were working for up to 150 hours per week. And these are things that we fought for and got through union activism. And to see today, it has been taken away. And to add insult to injury, that you are taking home less than the minimum wage and you don't even have the protection of a union to argue on your behalf. This is happening in Jamaica today. And these politicians, these deceptors, are not talking anything about it.
Wow. Ladies and gentlemen, that was just a background as to how the country has been molding over the years from slavery up until 2018. Why scamming became a factor, especially in Montego Bay, where practically everybody does it. And I'm not saying all of Montego Bay, but the police department is a part of it. The youngsters as young as 12 years old are a part of it. School teachers are a part of it. Nurses are a part of it. How can we get the youths to stay away from, say, scamming and this destructive method of the formaldehyde drug?
Well, when you take away education, the ability to become an educated person, an intelligent person, this has been done in two ways. When they put certain fees on a school, whether high school or tertiary,
Yes.
that is outside of the reach of the common man, then you are saying, even though you have that inherent ability to learn like anyone else, you are impeded by the cost. My son is in the University of Technology now, and we have to find $1.7 million to keep him there. They have almost taken him out of school, so we have to be with some stopgap measures in trying to keep him in school.
Wow.
And this is happening to many more brilliant students. So you have to understand it is a system design. Years ago, when one of our prime ministers, Michael Manley, gave education a free rein to say, listen, from you have the ability, you can go to school. Primary, secondary, and tertiary. A lot of our technocrats today gained from that period. But when the system saw what was happening, they decided to stop it. And we have to understand, why the IMF will put stipulations and conditionalities on the country when they lend you the money and say, you have to get rid of some of your workers, you have to do this, you have to do that. Those are the conditionalities that they use to keep you in an enslaved and indebted.
Wow. Wow.
This is something that has been happening over and over. Michael Manley in 1977 said he was so sorry that he went to the IMF in the first place when he looked at the conditionalities that he had to go through. That was the birth. That going to the IMF was the birth of the destruction of the Jamaican economy. Jamaica had a boom in the economy. We did not owe anybody any money out there.
Wow.
But because of the conditionalities of the IMF, we find ourselves become debt slaves. Out of every dollar that we earn as a people, 80 cents have to be used to pay the IMF.
Wow. So we're only living off of
20 cents we are living off to run the country.
So no wonder the youngsters not getting a chance to finish school have to look up on another means of earning a bread. Because most of these youngsters have their baby mother, they have children, they have their family to take care. Not that I'm condoning scamming. I'm against illegality. I want you to get that straight. But when the baby them have to be fed, what you expect the youth them to do with no other alternative? They put, and I'm not bashing the government, but we just have to speak on the government that is in the present government. They say that they're losing $80 billion per year from investment and so on, and they're using $3 to $4 billion to fight crime. I've not seen they allocate any funds towards social intervention, because remember, it was you who told me that the country don't create crime, it's people who do crime. And once you do not address the people, then you will forever have crime and crime and crime. Talk to our people about that.
Well, in 1992, there was a task force that was brought together by our most eminent jurists at the time, Leslie Wolf, the Chief Justice at the time, and a lot of our brilliant scholars. And at the end of that commission in 1992, the consensus was that to solve crime, you need to solve the social problems of the people. It is people who create crime. And if you create the conditions that people will agitate and gravitate towards crime, they will do so. Let us look at the minimum wage for a moment.
Yes.
presently it has moved to $6,500
Yes.
per week.
Mm-hmm.
Now, out of that 6,500, you have to pay rent, you have to pay light, you have to pay water, you have to feed yourself, you have to clothe yourself, and you have to transport yourself to and from work, those who have work. And you have to help the children, because most families, even so one child or 2, 3 children in the family, have children. Now, the first thing that you look at, the average light bill today for a single room, you're looking at $3,000 to $4,000. That's light.
Wow. Just light. No
alone.
refrigerator, no television.
Light alone.
Just light.
And a little fan.
Right.
No. Water, you're looking at $1,500 for water. $1,500 for water. So you're gone 4,500. You don't start eat yet.
Yeah.
You don't take bus for go work yet.
One to the picnic them.
You understand? You don't put nothing for the children them going to school.
Mm-hmm.
Their lunch money each day to and from school. So with the balance of 2,000 you have now to buy food, the average supermarket bill, and when you look at it now, they look at a basket of groceries that would carry a family for the week. That basket of groceries, to give you 3 meals per day, nutritious meal per day, you are looking at $6,500.
Wow.
6,500. So you realize that the only money you are getting is to buy food that you can come back to work. So what the family does now, they learn how to throw up a line to steal light. So you are creating the mind of that person or in a criminal mentality. That boy have to thief some light, just to survive. So you steal the light. The next thing, boy, I need the water, because water is life. That is what the Water Commission motto is,
Right.
Water is life. So it is an essential commodity. So you go out and you find a main and you jack into that main and you start to steal some water. So you create that criminal mentality, that mindset that you have to steal to survive. And just by extension, when you extrapolate, by the end of it all, you find a criminal in the making. And the children now growing up in that household, seeing daddy and mommy doing these things, will see it as normal.
As normal.
So they too, when they become of age, will do the same thing and see it as nothing, see it as the norm. So you are creating this criminal mentality in the being before you try to get that being as a wholesome and productive citizen. These politicians are not doing it. And it is going and getting worse each day. As the old maxim tell you, the rich getting richer and the poor getting poorer. You see it right here in Jamaica.
It is a shame. Ladies and gentlemen, for those who are just joining in, I see a lot of folks joining in. Big up my friend again, Obadiah. Big up yourself. Big up Anna K. Spence, Davian Gowie, Marine Welters all the way from Germany, Ras Billy, Kiko, and all the others who are listening into this very historical broadcast. I'm here with my friend and Jegna, Eru Ishaka Musa Menelik, and we're going to touch everything. We started off on embalming food, but we have to go back into the history of the mindset of the people as to why they are where we are today, and then how we're going to look at the solutions, how we can take this great country out of the plight that we're in. Last year in the latter part, 119 guns were intercepted in the Miami areas. God knows how much thousands of guns come through, because we don't manufacture gun or ammunition in Jamaica. And hundreds of thousands of guns are on the street, readily, easily accessible by our youngsters who don't even have money in their pocket sometimes. Sometimes when the police kill a youngster and take a gun, an M16 or an AK rifle off of this youth don't have more than $5, $10 or a draw herb in a pocket. He has no money at all. Yet still, this youth is able to fire gunshot all night into the next morning at $500 for a 9mm bullet and up to $1,000 for an AK-47 bullet. How is it possible in a country that doesn't manufacture guns? Where are these guns coming from, and how can we stop them?
Well, this is a very dear question. When I say dear, I see it as the root of this evil system that we are living in. Now, when guns are manufactured by these nations, why do they manufacture it? They manufacture it to sell it. So they have to create conditions to sell these weapons.
Wow.
They're not going to manufacture it and keep it like a figurine or a souvenir.
It has to be fired.
It has to be sold. And how do they sell it? You have to create a condition for it to be sold. And this is why you have wars are created, conditionalities are created that sets the foundation for wars and unrest. Now, Jamaica inherited what we call a two-party state. It's actually a multi-party state, you know.
Yeah.
But the dominance of these two parties that are entrenched in Jamaica, we call it a two-party state. Now, when you look at what they have done, they have deeply divided our people, that when one would call themselves a JLP, they see the PNP as an enemy.
Wow.
And the PNP, on the other hand, see the JLP as enemy. And we just have to look back at our prophet Bob Marley when he had to look at the two leaders at the time to say, listen, too much destruction is happening. 800 people, that was the record in 1980, the highest amount of people that were killed by the gun in the political violence. And both leaders were not talking to each other, daggers drawn.
Daggers drawn at each other.
And the example that they said is that, well, you must have garrison. Garrison is where one set of we stay. You understand? So you have a community with pure JLP. You have a community with pure PNP. And if a JLP go into the PNP community, is killed, and vice versa. I remember going into a community and on the wall, it was a PNP community. On the wall, it said the JLP is my enemy. JLP for dead.
Wow.
This is what is taught. So the little children in the community growing up and seeing the elders fire and gun killing off the next side, they are going to grow up and see it as the norm. But back to the gun. The guns now were not manufactured in Jamaica. But when the election is called, we see one side equipped with guns from the United States and another side equipped with guns made in the USSR.
Wow.
So it is no miracle. It is by no shade of the imagination that you know that there are people working behind the scenes and fueling it. As you rightly said, these youth cannot afford to buy none of these guns. So these guns are issued to them in the time whenever it is needed to intimidate the other side. But I'm not taking America off the hook. America manufactures guns for the main purpose of creating wealth. Creating wealth and sustaining their dominance, their world dominance. Because after the guns, then they have higher weapons, the bombs and all these nuclear weapons that they create to maintain world dominance. So this is how it is. They set the situations right around the world. There's a unit of them known as the CIA, and they go into countries and create all types of disturbance. And people who have done their studies know it. And I think every 30 years, certain CIA records can be made public. And if you go and you read these records, you can see plainly where they tell you that they have gone into these countries and created turmoil, that the people can never become as one united body. Quite recently, an FBI and CIA agent wrote a book. I think he became a Christian, gave his life to the Lord, and decided to repent of his past. And he did this video, The Economic Hitman. And any one of you can go there and Google it, The Economic Hitman. And he tells of the intervention that they went into many countries. He called the countries by name, Peru, and a lot of the South American countries and the Latin American countries, that they went in and actually stimulated the wars in there and created the revolution in there because they wanted to control the people. In one of the famous cases in America, one of their generals, General Oliver North, confessed that he sold guns to the two sides of the people.
I remember that one.
He sold guns to the people that the Americans were defending, and he sold guns to the people that were against America.
They call it the Iran-Contra affairs.
Thank you. I was trying to remember
when what's his name? Ronald Reagan,
yes,
the superstar, was in power.
Of course.
Oliver North took the fall for Ronald Reagan.
So this is how devious they are.
Jamaica's a beautiful island. If you take an inch measure and stretch it from the point of Port Antonio to Negril Point, not going up and down in hills and valley, you'll get a mere 150 miles in length. If you also take an inch measure and stretch it at its widest along St. Elizabeth across there, it only measures another 55 miles. But yet still we triumph over everything. We have the best athlete, we have the best culture, we have the best everything that you can possibly imagine. We are this spiritual great set of people. So that is why I'm doing a forum like this and bring on my Jegna, my learned teacher, to educate those Jamaicans that are not just in Jamaica, but scattered right across the world, that they need to do more than what they're doing. They need to rally back at Jamaica, buy up some of the land before the Chinese then take over, because pretty soon we're going to be overrun by Chinese. It's not a secret. It is out there. So what are your thoughts on the Jamaicans out there? How best yet can they rally back a yard? Even though the crime rate is dangerous, don't get me wrong. We have to clean that up, and that is what we're working on. But how best can Jamaicans assist us in fighting this beast and this monster that we call crime?
We are living in an economic world, and we are living in a world that is driven by technology and intelligence. The things that we want are people who are learned, that you can come into Jamaica and assist the learning process. Education is key. Education gives you options in life. By profession, I'm an aeronautical engineer, but I'm an excellent plumber. I'm an excellent cabinet maker because of my superior intelligence in technology. I can branch out in many other areas. Since I retired from the airline industry, I've learned to build homes. I built a lovely home in Green Acres for a friend. He couldn't afford to pay a contractor. And I said to him, I'll do it for you. Just give me some food each day. And I was drinking Guinness Stout at the time. I said, buy me some Guinness Stout and give me food. And I built a 3-bedroom house for him. So with that intelligence, you can have options in life. So I am appealing to my fellow Jamaicans right around the world. I have been offered a job in Canada by Air Canada, and I turned it down because I wanted to uplift Jamaica. And I won't tell you how many boards that I sit on, how much work I do, and I do it voluntarily. I am the president of our Citizens Association. I'm the president of the Past Student Association at my old primary school, because without that primary education, I would not be the person I am today. I am a justice of the peace, and I help in the courts. So there's so much you can do to help uplift your country. These are things that I appeal to my fellow citizens all the while. Do some volunteer work. Forget the government. If you're a PNP and there's a JLP in power, it is not the JLP you're helping. You are helping Jamaica. But because we have been so aligned and divided, a lot of people think that they're a PNP, they mustn't do anything to help the JLP government, because the JLP government you're helping. No, my brother, no, my sister. You are helping Jamaica, the place that we love, the place that have produced so many great people.
I must add though, in all fairness, and there's a lot of Jamaicans out there that really wants to come back to Jamaica. You think they want the cold weather that is happening in the United States as we speak, and Canada and other countries. They don't want to endure that. But take the case, say, of the elderly couple that spent over 50 years in Canada. Them save up them little money. Them buy a nice house or build a nice house in a St. Thomas. The gentleman was 83 years old. The lady was 74 years old. And some bad mind and scrupulous people go in a St. Thomas, tie up the people them, cut them throat and murder them for them own money.
Very unfortunate.
You know what I mean? And I can use cases upon cases where Jamaicans do want to come home as much as we are begging up. But not until we find a way to clean up this thing where we're going.
All right, let us look at that.
Yes.
You'll find that because of the divisions that have been created in the country, because of the poverty that has been impacted upon the people, that you end up with all this. And I'll go now to the formaldehyde. The amount of drugs that have been pumped in the people intentionally, that you have people with an altered state of mind. When you have your mind altered by drugs, you're not thinking as a normal being anymore. And a lot of these youths that are committing these heinous crimes, they are not in charge of their faculties in court. And this is why in court, you can rule in a murder case. It can be a crime of passion. Someone overcome with emotion and you commit the crime. But you can also commit a crime when you are under the influence of alcohol or drugs.
Quite so.
In which your inhibitions are broken down to such a low state that you commit the crime without even knowing that you have done it. When you have come out of that stupor and somebody told you that you have did that, you say, me? You can't believe that you did it. I remember one time, this brother was so drunk that he took out his penis in the middle of King Street. King Street was our main street. And he started to pee, walking in the middle of King Street, peeing. It was near to the Christmas period, and everybody was drinking a lot of rum. And he was so under the influence that he did it not even knowing, and he was laughing while he was doing it. And the next day when he was sober, and we told him what he did, he could not believe in it. It was totally uncharacteristic of this person. So this is what happens when you're under certain influence of mind-altering drugs and chemicals. So we have to look at now the conditions that have caused our brothers and sisters to turn to these drugs to relieve their pain. Because it's a part of pain and stress relief. Presently, a lot of men who go to the bar and drink, they say, boy, I had a hard day. Boy, my wife give me some problem. I had a problem at work today. I have to drink, forget it off. You understand? And some man might take a smoke. Some man might take a shot of heroin. These are things that have been put out there. But let us go beyond that now. If we were educated to a level that we didn't have to go to that standard to relieve stress, then we would not be in that area at all.
True.
So
true.
In an uncanny way, I hate the crime, but I sympathize with the condition that caused the person to do it.
Because they're not doing up their own mind.
Not
or
on
thoughts.
their own mind.
Another thing I must bring to your mind, about 2 to 3 days ago, a young lady, I don't know how involved, if she was involved or not, but she was shot and killed and dumped in the bushes. When her body was found 24 hours later, she was found with multiple gunshots, and she was clutching to her 2-year-old baby that was still alive.
Yes, I heard that one. That can be a case of people acting under the influence of drugs. Now, drugs tend to numb the nerves that whenever you carry out certain heinous actions,
you have no remorse.
You
don't
have
feel
no form of remorse. And you know, when just as I mentioned that I spoke to a mortician.
Yes.
And he said before he goes into dissect the bodies, he has to drink like a half quart of white rum to get himself in a state that looking at the bodies, because some of the bodies are so mutilated that it doesn't react to him in no way. He just goes through his duties and do what he has to do. So we find people doing these crimes, they are doing it under the influence of drugs.
How regulated are these chemicals that these funeral home have access to? Based on my intelligence, this is a liquid that you can just go easily and buy it if you're in the funeral industry. And what kind of penalty should be handed down if it is found that a funeral home is supplying formaldehyde, selling it to our youngsters? What kind of penalty can be issued on these wicked, pernicious people?
Well, we come back to our policymakers.
Mm-hmm.
We inherited a constitution in 1962 with some very archaic laws. This constitution has not been updated. You find in the constitution today, they are still talking about horse and buggy. When you look at the Town and Communities Act,
yes,
which speaks to how you behave within a community, within a city, it is talking about horse and buggy and how you put on a shoe on a horse, and if you are burning bushes or if you are doing blacksmithing on the sidewalk. This is in 2018. These things are still on our constitution. And this is the main law book that governs the other laws that are promulgated by our parliamentarians. Now, these politicians, and I call them, they are crisis managers. They are reactionary. They are not proactive. They are not preventative. They wait until a crisis comes upon them, then they try to solve that crisis. And this is the predicament that we are in now, that there are no controls for formaldehyde, the distribution of formaldehyde in the island. The importers can import it and sell it to the morticians, but there's nothing regulating, there's no rules and regulations that a small man can come in and buy some. And this is what happened, how it reaches to other people. and other toxic chemicals. You are talking about poisonous chemicals that can be used to poison people. It is easily accessible by anyone. You can go into a drugstore and you buy it.
Wow.
These are things that are happening today. So our crisis managers that are there to enact laws to protect the citizens, because remember, they are our representatives elected by us, empowered by us to protect us. But they have abdicated their responsibility and think it is a free-for-all that they are to drive around in a Pajero and have a good time and have cocktail parties.
Another thing that I want to discuss that has been, because you know, when we have Ishaka Musa Menelik in the house, we can just throw any subject at him, and his brain is so wide and big that he can just spits out solutions on solutions. Recently, the coffee farmer, and as you know, the history of Jamaican Blue Mountain coffee, we are the best in the world. Recently, the farmers that occupy the land in the Blue Mountain Peak area, and we're talking about way up in the hills, they were given a notice to leave the land, and weeks before the crop was ready to be harvested, the new owners went in with their chainsaws and cut down everything you can think of, not giving these people a chance to reap. What should be done for these farmers who have occupied the land for over 40 years? And what about adverse possession? Explain that to our Jamaican people out there.
Well, first of all, let me condemn that act. Condemn that act. Because when you have people on a land for over 40 years, if it is private land, and if they have been on the land undisturbed for 12 years and more, they can, through adverse possession, apply for the title of that land and pay up the taxes and get a title in their name.
Mm-hmm.
But let us say that they were on the land and they were disturbed periodically by the owners.
Mm-hmm.
So 12 years have not passed without the owners reminding them that the land is ours.
Mm-hmm.
So they cannot, through adverse possession,
Claim the land.
Mm-hmm. But let us look at the pernicious act of that judge that signed the order, because they have to apply to the court.
Yes.
And the court will sign the order to say immediate eviction from the land.
Mm-hmm.
Immediate. Now, you have to take into consideration the length of time that the people have been on the land.
40 years.
The land is in production. The land is in useful production. What that judge should have done within that order is to give the people time to reap the crop, and if they cannot work out something with the owners that the people get custody of the land, then they work out something that the people will leave the land in an incremental way, that you don't just throw them off all at once. Because what you are doing is creating squatters.
But I want to say this. I want to interject
squatters.
This really quickly. Because maybe something in a something. A few months back, in the earlier part of last year, the same farmers that was accustomed to getting $12,000 a box for the Blue Mountain coffee, all of a sudden the Japanese are saying that they cannot pay more than $6,000 a box. They cut it in half, and it is the same people. I'm wondering if it is a concerted effort or a plan to take away the greatest coffee on the planet Earth, because the Blue Mountain is the greatest coffee on Earth. Everybody claim for Mexico not have it, Cuba not have it, America not have it, Colombia not have it, all them boats and them go on. The Blue Mountain coffee is the best. And the reason why it is the best, it is grown at a certain altitude. So is this a concerted effort by some unforeseen forces to break down Jamaica again by taking away the coffee, the best thing that we are, and own it for themselves, and next thing you know, we don't have nothing? What is going on?
Well,
talk to me.
Let us look again at the political system that we have. As I explained, we are under what we call an oligarchy. An oligarchy is where the big man with the money control the politician, and the politician does the bidding of the big man.
Oh.
Let us extrapolate and look at it in motion.
Okay.
A political party does not earn money. Does not earn money. They depend on donations. Now, when we look at these big businesses, what the big businesses do, they give equally to both parties. So they are not aligned to any one party.
Oh.
It is not as if Mr. Big Man is a PNP and he's giving to the PNP, or Mr. Big Man is a JLP and he's giving to the JLP. Mr. Big Man gives 10 million to the PNP, 10 million to the JLP, that whoever is in power owes him a favor.
Right on.
And this is
where, you hear that?
This is where we find
they finance both sides of the governments, so that whoever is in power owes them a favor. And that is why, go ahead with your thing.
We go back to an index study that was done by Professor Trevor Monroe in 1967.
Yeah.
And when he inspected both parties, the mechanism of both parties, his conclusion to the thesis was that both parties are there to maintain the wealth of the big man and to maintain the dependence of the small man.
Jesus.
It is there in writing. Go and look up Professor Trevor Monroe's thesis of the decolonization of the political system in Jamaica. It is there. The ideology of both. And in that time he mentioned in it also that one party was penetrated by one of the big families at that time. Mm-hmm. And the other party was penetrated by another big family. And in those days, we as a child would know that it was 21 families that run Jamaica. 21. The 5% that make up the 99% of the wealth was 21 families. And these two major families, one controlled the PNP, one controlled the JLP.
And that's the way it has been.
And it has been from ever since to today. That on the outside, you might see the parties telling you that they are different. But when you look at the levity of your life, you realize. You see the big man getting bigger, you know, you see the different corporate bodies have one division in Kingston, then they have one in St. Andrew, one in Ocho Rios, one in Montego Bay, and they keep expanding. Till they are not only one entity now, they are now known as group of companies. Them get so big now that they are not one entity anymore. They have to be named group of companies. That's how they have amassed wealth. So they split up the wealth and form different companies. That some, to the man that is not knowing, would say that is one company, that's another company, that's another company. But when you look at the governing body, it is the same one company.
How can we get our citizens? Because it's hard enough for we as a Jamaican people who live here on this country, on this piece of the rock, end up with nothing. How can we break the mindset of our people to buy black, right? Support black, support Jamaica merchandise. how can we really give it to them that they understand? Because we're trying our best. It's like throwing water up in the air and it comes falling right back in your face. What can we do concertedly? And what can we tell other Jamaicans out there, right? So that they can inculcate in our people how we can spend among ourselves. How can we do that?
I'll go to 1914 when one of our great Jamaicans, the Right Excellent, the Honorable, the most excellent and distinguished Marcus Mosiah Garvey.
See him there.
That distinguished, eloquent philosopher.
Yes.
He created an organization known as the Universal Negro Improvement Association and African Communities League.
Yes.
And this organization had a motto: one God, one aim, one destiny. And it was specifically for the upliftment of black people.
Wow.
Because at that time, black people was looked at as slaves, peons, serfs. Now, Mr. Garvey showed that we were the world's great thinkers. We were the world's great people. We were the first civilization to emerge. And through education, he showed systematically that we, black people, taught the Europeans and brought them into civilization. There are two books that I would urge my viewers to look on and find. A book by Professor Ivan van Sertima, They Came Before Columbus, showing that we were all over the world long before white people was traveling the world. We were all over the world, navigating the world, making almanacs. The next book is the philosophy and opinion of Marcus Mosiah Garvey. These two books, when you read these books uplift you to the state that you know who you are as a black man and as a black woman.
Stick a pin. I remember when we invited Dr. Julius Garvey in 2012. Yourself, myself, Maureen Gutsmore, and there were others that helped to implement this great feat. And we spoke to the then Minister of Education, and I'm going to call his name, Ronald Twaits. And we took Dr. Garvey to the Ministry of Education, and he presented to him two books, The Philosophy and the Opinion of Mr. Garvey, Volume 1 and Volume 2. And he swore that these books will be in our classroom and as part of our curriculum. Dr. Julius Garvey came back in 2013. He was there over by the Micah Teachers College, went into his pocket and spent his own money and paid the teachers how to implement the teaching of Mr. Garvey. And we're in 2018 and it's still yet not done.
There lies our problem.
There lies our problem.
And this is why I went so far to 1914 to show that this brilliant Jamaican rose up and wrote the black print of how we should lift ourselves out of poverty, lift ourselves out of illiteracy, lift ourselves out of dependency, and become a citizen of the world. We have him here, and we have not been teaching his philosophy and opinions in our school. And I'm glad that you brought it to the fore, that we went to the Minister of Education to say, late as it is, this was in 2010, late as it is, we could still help our people, because this should have been done from we gained independence.
From 1962.
From 1962. Hong Kong, China, all these nations, when they struck off the yoke of imperialism, the first thing they did was to teach Chinese nationalism, to lift up the Chinese people. And I might add that Chiang Kai-shek used to visit Marcus Garvey's presentations in New York. And this is how he lifted up his nation, using the same concept of black nationalism. He used it as Chinese nationalism and lifted up his nation of people. So we have to understand that it is not that we are an imbecile. It is not that we are a fool set of people. It is that we have been misled by the people who we entrusted to look after our well-being, the politicians, because they should have enacted the laws to bring into being the teachings of Marcus Musa Garvey from kindergarten, basic school, primary school, prep school, high school, technical school, to tertiary institution.
Stick one more pin. Dr. John Henry Clark says, powerful people will not teach powerless people how to gain power. How we slip under that now? How can we teach our people without the help of these people? I mean, we have forum like this, which you take your time out. You're an astute businessman, and you take your time out to come here. But how can we do it? Because we know they're not going to do that. They're not going to educate our people to be intelligent, because they want to keep them stupid and dormant so that they can manipulate them and control them. So how can we slip now the intelligence under the radar for our people so that they understand what I'm going and grasp what I'm going and wake up, because they're fast asleep?
Yes, my brother.
How can we do it?
Okay. The Rastafari brethren and sisters in the early 60s started the concept of each one teach one.
Yeah.
It was slow that you gain the knowledge through attrition, but it was sure. That I remember as a child, Bongo Rocky and Empress Baby I would take time out while passing on the street to stop and talk to I and I as a youth to show us the right way. They took time out. They would be walking, going about their business, and they might see two youth fighting, and they come on and say, no, black youth, you cannot fight against yourself. And took 10 or 15 minutes to show you the greatness of us. Bongo Rocky used to walk like a king, very upright.
Yeah.
And he had his staff with him at all time. So when you saw him, you saw a king. All my memories that I think of Bongo Rocky, I am seeing this kingly stature in front of me. And it is out of those teachings that brought me into the influence of Rastafari. The whole ideology I saw was the way for us as a people. And when the Honorable Marcus Garvey Jr. in 1964 taught me in school and showed me the greatness of our people, when he said, listen, architecture, science, mathematics, we taught the Greeks, even though the Greeks are the first learned white people, and we are now, a lot of us are looking to the Greeks as if they are the best. We taught them. And because I know this, I know we can be great again as we are. And we are still great. But guess what? We are not united. The divisions that they put there. Let us look at some of the simple divisions. And we have to, as a people, get over these things. Religion. They gave us a Bible. And this Bible supposed to be the true word of God, wholesome word of God. But we find that we have 5,000 denominations coming out of it.
What?
And each one talking a different talk.
5,000 denominations?
5,000. Can be more.
Mm.
So you realize that this something is to divide us as a people, not to keep us together. And what it did, it made us look at our indigenous religion. Before Christianity, 10,000 years before Christianity, you had the Iya Ife kingdom in Western Africa, the Yoruba, lifting up Olodumare as our supreme being. So we have to understand that we were worshiping a God before. And even when you get to Christianity, we were there to shape Christianity. Tertullian and St. Augustus were black people from Africa. And those were some of the early black men exponents of Christianity. If you look even in the Bible will show you that Africa has an integral role, even though they don't teach it. Genesis chapter 2 verse 13 will say, the river that runs through the Garden of Eden runs through the land of Ethiopia. Ethiopia can only be found in Africa.
No place else on the planet Earth.
And the etymology of the word itself tells you that Ethiopia is land of the black people.
So youths, Jamaican people, rise up and wise up, because it is very important. The Honorable Marcus Garvey says, if you don't know where you come from, you'll never know where you're going. He said a race of people is divided of roots and culture. It's like a tree without roots.
That's
so
a dead tree. That is a dead tree.
It's a dead tree. If you don't have the root, you're dead.
Dead.
So we are doing what we're doing, myself and Eru, in trying to up our mighty race of people. Even though they want to keep us out of the classroom and put in all kind of fandangles. Recently, a pastor was banned. Now, they say Jamaica is an homophobic country. Yet still, recently a pastor coming from the United States of America to Jamaica was banned because he preaches that homosexuality is wrong. You know what I mean? So we have to educate ourselves. We have to really get back to the great teachings of our great. Another thing I want to touch, Eru, is this is the year 2018. The Nice Abatement Act. And the reason why I want to touch the Nice Abatement Act is because it is an act that affects poor people. Remember the days of the dance hall. The dance used to feed many families. You have the cane man outside, park up in cane cart. You have the man with a hustle little herb. You have the soup man. You have the man who sell cane. You have the man who sell jerk chicken. You have the man who sell them little this and them little that.
The peanuts.
Them little peanuts there and there. And the Nice Abatement are coming in. And just take away all that. The other day, Shaggy, and that's why I have to big up Shaggy, because Shaggy is our nowadays national hero. Shaggy have given to the Children's Hospital $100 million. It could have easily been 150 million if the government and the court them never charged Shaggy 50 million for house a charity event. 50 million for house a charity event. Can you imagine the Children's Public Hospital? There's only 5 beds in the emergency ward. 5. Is it because some of these rich guys have their citizenship or their money, and if them kids get sick, then kind of throw them on a flight and fly them into Miami and take care of them? Why them do this wicked act to Shaggy? What are your thoughts on that? The taxes that them put on the poor man who want to keep a little dance, he have to pay jams, he have to pay JCAP, he have to pay National Waste Management, he have to pay all kind of taxes. And then by the time it reach 1 or 2 o'clock, them lock up the dance and then can't make back your money in them. What go on?
This is something enacted from years ago in the system, that the small man must not survive. You must always be dependent. You must not rise to gain economic independence. And we can look back at the Paul Bogle Rebellion when they had the relocation order. After you plant up your land and just as you're going to reap the land, they sign a relocation order, remove you off that land and you're going to another land. And you lose all the produce that you had planted on that land.
Wow.
Now, fast forward to today. You had an act from 1869, the No Vending Act, when white people could revend, Chinese could revend, the Indians could revend, black people could not revend. You could not have a product and go on the sidewalk to go and sell it, to peddle your wear.
Wow.
Designed to keep the black man down. Now, these are things that have come forward now, and in an uncanny way, they are still trying to keep it in place, that you have no avenue for upward mobility. Let us look at the banks. The banks will lend you money to buy a car, which is a liability, but they will not lend you money to start a business. They know that the car soon mash up. And you're back to square one, or you're even worse.
And you end up with them same way whether the car match up or not.
Of course.
You have to pay the money there. Yeah, continue.
You understand? But if you get the business and the business take off, you're now independent and you have become one of them. They don't want that. You must stay on the fringe. And this is why you find even when some of our DJs got some money through their recordings and they went to move into some neighborhoods, immediately the people then start to ostracize them and say, we neighborhood mash up now. You know, see who live next door, you. This is a system that still persists in Jamaica today. Poor people mustn't rise above poorness.
You remember when Usain Bolt, now remember Usain Bolt is our national figure. He has helped to put Jamaica further on the map. And then buy a nice little house up on Narbrook there. And then want to keep him little barbecue amongst him friends. And then fight against Usain Bolt. Say where him come from. Where him I do to a community. Says the same thing.
This is what you call elitism.
Elitism.
And it has existed from the days when Bakra Master was around. And this is why I'm saying it is a continuum of what happened then that is taking place now. And even these people, instead of trying to help another Jamaican, they see you as a threat to them.
Wow. Keep going.
So we have to now look at how do we as a people rise up. And what better way than using Mr. Garvey's model of self-reliance. Now what we need to move towards now is forming cooperatives. All our small farmers need, instead of selling these big companies your produce for little and nothing, all of these small farmers must get together and form a cooperative and start to sell their own produce. So you cut out the middleman.
Cut out the middleman.
You pool your money together and you buy some machines to make the add-on value on your products, whether you're going to make jams and jellies for your products when your products come in abundance. You tin them just like how these big companies make apple in the tin or tomato sauce in the tin or whatever in the tin. Is your brother and sister in the factory same one making it already? So we have the knowledge how to make it. I, for 5 years, worked with the company named Metal Box that made the tins to put the coffee to put the tomato, to put the Milo, to put all these products in. So we can do it. We have the technology. We need to come together, pool our resources, and that's the way we're going to lift ourselves out of poverty and out of dependency. This is the thing that Marcus Garvey championed. Self-reliance. Do for yourself. Don't let the other man do for you, or else you'll always be the slave of the other man. I think that the government should be doing to these big companies. Yeah. They should institute the program known as ESOP. Now, quite recently, about a week ago in the Star,
yes,
a man was working with a company for 40 years.
Yeah.
He got a house in 2010, and he was paying mortgage. But there was some mistake in the mortgage payment. He was paying $1,000 less. And in 7 years, he had owed, I think, $84,000. And believe me, it is in the Star. They took away, they evicted him. The man is on the sidewalk today.
Take away land.
Took away the house and put the man on the sidewalk. These are things that is happening today. 40 years you work with this company, and you're telling me the company could not have a program in place that you get a house and you pay your mortgage through the company? This is what should be happening. Your pension. Let me tell you how these people use your pension money. You have 1,000 workers in a company, and you are paying your pension. Your pension goes into this fund, this pool of funds. And guess who controls the pool of funds? One of the 21 families. I'm not going to call them names, but them control the insurance companies. And they use your funds to reinvest, to build banks, to build supermarkets, to build all these edifices. With your money. Your pension money. When I was at Air Jamaica, they wanted to take away our pension money. We had to fight. We had to go to the Privy Council. Our pension money was valued $400 million.
What?
$400 million, and they wanted to take it away. If we did not fight for it and get our lawyers and fight to get that 400 million, they would have taken it away. They use a law. They used to use these big law terms, and they declared that the money was termed bona vacanta. And we are saying,
when you talk it again, bona
vacanta. Them Latin term, them put to these things, guys. Yeah. The legal language, you're not gonna know it.
Yes.
So at first, we said, boy, the money done, the money dead. Can't get it, them big word there. Bona vacanta. But one brethren who was a little brighter than us said, nah man, all it means that them are declare said the money no have no owner. And if it no have no owner, they will make the government take it and give the company half, and the government take half. And we not get nothing. So what does it mean? And so started the fight. For 2 years we fought for that money. In the courts it reached to the Privy Council. And we won. So these are the things that they do. They use your same money to enrich themselves, and in the end, they put you to the least. You get nothing. It is a system, and we need to replace the system. When we put forward, I was a union delegate, and we put forward a system known as the Employee ESOP, ESOP, Employee Share Ownership Program. We said any worker that is in a company for 10 years and over, 10 years and over, you must start to own a piece of that company.
I agree.
Because you make the company stay afloat for 10 years. They have not made it law. And we are still articulating the position that it must come to law. You cannot be building these companies making billions of dollars and you are not benefiting from the company, only them. As I said earlier, Jamaica has the widest disparity. One man earning $4 million and the next person in the company earning minimum wage. And at the end of the day, you go to the supermarket, you're buying the same bread for $300 or $500. It is not right. And it must change. And these mendacious politicians that we have don't see anything in it. Because why? The politician appear, the big man appear the politician. It is the evil mendacious system that we have. He who pay the piper call the tune. And that is what is happening.
Ladies and gentlemen, just to welcome each and every one of you that has been joining in. I know this is our first live feed. I did a test run this morning, and I'm very happy to see the numbers going up into the 40s at one time. And the comments, we have over 71 comments out there. We need interaction between the people and ourselves. And this is a forum that from time to time you'll hear Ishaka Musa Menelik, one of the great ones. You probably see an artist, the common person, just expressing themselves. It has been 1 hour and 31 minutes since we are on. And I know for sure that the people out there watching are very enthused by the art. Let's take a look. Everyone, let's take a look on the side and let's see how many arts going up. Okay. The people appreciate what we're doing.
Yes.
And they know that we're doing the right thing.
Yes.
See?
Well, give thanks that, whatever we impart here is impacting and making some amount of benefit to your life. And by proxy, I hope that you now in turn will assist Jamaica if you're a Jamaican. And even if you're not a Jamaican, you can also assist because we share this place called planet Earth. And I hope that I can impact on your life in your country. I might say something that you use in your local and it enhances the quality of your life. So give thanks for watching and commenting and hope that we will all build and solve this problem. Because when we take it to the wider world, I will tell you, 1% of Earth's population control 99% of Earth's wealth. So it is happening in your country also. Some of your people is controlling all the wealth and not sharing it, you, the common man and the common woman in the community. So we have to change that system.
So Brother Eru, I know that you're a very busy person. I want to take this time out and thanking you very, very much from the depths of our heart. We here at Big Stone Records and Production, myself and of course Maureen Gutsmore, the boss, thanking you for stopping by and with your great wealth of knowledge, impart knowledge unto our Jamaican diaspora, scattered far and wide. Give us your last thoughts to the Jamaican people as we depart.
My only thought at this time is that we can heal our nation. We need that healing. Let me use, and I want to use my teacher's quotation because I love it so much. The ends you serve that are selfish will get you no further than yourself. The ends you serve for all in common shall take you into eternity. Give thanks.
I must close this, ladies and gentlemen, by thanking each and every one of you. Every person that watches this program is very important to us. We could not add it if there was zero on the monitor. And from the monitor started from zero on up, it never went below 12 or 15 people. We know once we start doing this more often, each one will teach one, each one will share, and we can only say thank you very, 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 very much for watching. Jamaica is our country. It belongs to all of us. And we can't just sit down and watch it mash up. No, sir. So thank you once again. Hey, bro.
Blessed love. Blessed love.
Rastafari.
Highly eyes. Last year.
The Honorable Marcus Garvey said, one God,
one aim,
one destiny. Thank you all for watching. And I do hope you have a great evening. Rastafari. Enough love.